Baker, Mel Hopkins, and I'm trying to think who else it was. If you Google YouTube, so there is quite a bit of stuff out there. But for me, the sort of absolute gems were, there's two or three clips of my dad. In fact, the gun maker video, the video is interesting because I've seen very little, tiny clips of my dad outside of being a footballer. So those things for me were absolute gold dust. These ones where he's effectively in civvies and he's John White, my father, rather than John White, the footballer. So those things were amazing. Unfortunately, there's not the best of the greatest moments. But as I document in the book, actually, it was growing up as a kid over here. At the time, the only time you would get to see old games would probably be on cup final day, where they might show a little grainy black and white footage of the goals from the Leicester game or the Burnley game.
Right.
And I'd literally, I'd see a fleeting glimpse of my dad. But for me, it was almost like this little drug that I would get, this little trip that would be this magical thing. There's stuff out there, but unfortunately, not enough. I guess that's just the way of the world in those days.
Mm.
Wow.
So it's very surreal for us to sit here and listen to that. Going into this and thinking about when you two both agreed to come on, I wasn't expecting that. I'm telling you right now, Rob, Davie, both. I'm sitting here in shock just listening to that much detail and that much depth, and I cannot tell you both enough how much, especially Rob, how much I really appreciate you divulging what you just did. It's amazing.
That's okay. Yeah. Can I just give you another? Sorry, I'll let you speak one time, Davie. I will. Honestly, I will.
And with us on the show today also is Davie Elder, everybody.
So Davie and I are friends, so I know that once I let Davie start talking, I'll never stop. I'll get my the other bit which is in the book, which is in fact my absolute favourite. There's a chapter about Dave Mackay, and unfortunately Dave is he's not fantastic, not in fantastic health. He's got Alzheimer or dementia, and he's starting to get old. But Julie and I were sort of lucky because we just got Dave at the right time. But Dave was, along with Cliff, was probably one of the pivotal figures in my sort of very not vulnerable but a really important time of my life. And when Dave was manager at Derby County, which I think was 74-75 or 75 season, when Derby won the equivalent, the championship, which is the equivalent of the Premiership, I was really lucky because Dave made sure through a Tottenham supporting friend of the family that anytime Derby County were playing in London, I would get taken to the game. But not only to the game, I would get taken to the team hotel beforehand. I would meet the players. I would travel on the coach with the players. I would go in the dressing room in all of the London games. And this is before mascots were even invented. It was such special access as a, what was I, 9, 10 or 11-year-old kid, and just get to sit with the players while they were changing, and 5 minutes before the game started, I would get ushered out of the dressing room, and there would be, you'd hear all these loud voices, and then the players would go out, and I would get to go out with Dave and his assistant manager and sit in the dugout, and it was this amazing, immersion I'm going for, probably not the right word, in this football culture. And for that time I'm eternally grateful to Dave Mackay, and that's he's one of my all-time heroes. So
he's my, and Sam and Simon both know we're getting ready to print up new shirts for our Dallas Spurs supporters group, and we're doing old Ringer shirts that look just like the old 60-61 kits, and I'm getting a number 6 on the back of mine because he's if I could be reincarnated into anybody, I would love to be Dave Mackay back in the 60s.
That is a fantastic choice, I tell you. Yeah. You've picked fantastically there, yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I don't always do that, so that's a good to know.
So, right. Rob, clearly your dad, a brilliant man and loved by many people, but a lot of people that will listen to this won't know about how he got his nickname, the Ghost of White Hart Lane. You want to guide us through that?
Yeah, it's funny enough. Just after researching the book, one of the junior clubs that he played for up in Scotland is a really, again, a fantastic club with a fantastic name, and called Bonnyrigg Rose. That's the name of the team. And I was up there and I met some of the old guys that he played with, and in fact I met the club secretary. And one of the guys up there, he claims, and this is the fantastic thing about doing the book, and unfortunately I didn't get time. I haven't listened to Julie's contribution to your pod, but I will do. But one of the fantastic things was that the stories about my dad are sort of endless, and this guy, he maintains that the ghost name was christened when he was at Bonnyrigg Rose. Now, I think this guy may be getting carried away with himself. Essentially, there's two strands to this, which one of them I talk about in the book, which was how weird it was growing up with a father who died in very tragic, almost surreal circumstances, who had the nickname the Ghost. And as a kid, one thing you're scared of is ghosts. So that's a confusion. That's a massive confusion. But the nickname essentially is, he would be one of these guys that would just literally just pop up in space. He was forever moving. If you talk to people, you read about it, you see images of him. The guy was always on the move, always, just that was, essentially that is how the nickname happened. He would just pop up. You'd think you had him covered. You would think he was over his shoulder, and then all of a sudden he wouldn't be, and he'd be somewhere else in space. And that's, it's as simple as that. But again, it's a lovely nickname to have, I think, personally. There aren't that many footballers who are special enough to get, their own nickname.
Absolutely. At a club with amazing history. And
in the book, I think it's chronicled, he had a very keen sixth sense about defenders, and he would be looking at them in the eye as he would be dribbling with his feet, and when they would glance over to check to see where the other guy was, that's when he would make his move, and when they turned back, he was gone. And I think that's the premise of everything. So everybody out there that's a Spurs supporter, we've talked about the biography of Tottenham Hotspur written by Julie herself, but when you go to start building your collection, The Ghost, In Search of My Father, the Football Legend, but written by Julie Welch and Rob White, please go find that on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or your favorite book buyer publication place, and get this book. It is amazing. If you're in any way, shape, or form a dad, enamored with your dad, fascinated by anything, the book will really touch home, and I would really encourage everybody to go get that.
And of course, it comes with a no tears money back guarantee, of course.
Yeah, I had to use a tissue as my bookmarker for that book. All right, so that was that. Again, thank you very much, Rob, for sharing.
Pleasure.
But shall we talk some football?
Banter time.
Sheffield United's second leg. Spurs get an early tally from Kane, completing a pretty much dominating first half. We were all feeling pretty comfortable in the pub. Wednesday afternoon, 1:30, we're all in the pub, a bunch of us. You can tell how fanatical we are about this. But then we come out, play a little lackadaisical in the second half, and then they bring on this kid, what was he, 17 or 18? He nicks in 2 goals, and then Eriksson, give me the damn ball time, and gets the late goal again for Spurs that sends us into a cup final at Wembley. How perfect of an ending is that for a good season?
It was squeaky bum, though, wasn't it?
I love it when you say that.
It was squeaky bum. It was squeaky bum. God, I can't even imagine what that must have been to watch that match live.
Yeah.
I just... ugh.
Well, it was funny. One of the things we were talking about was, Paulinho and Lamella. They were probably running around going, "What is this white crap falling out of the sky? I've never seen this before." Davie, what for you? FA Cup finals memories past for you? Not FA Cup. What is this? Worthington Milk Capital
The old
One?
League Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, the old League Cup. Are there finals past or things that you remember about this particular cup, going to Wembley, watching the team, that is more close to you than other memories?
I think my main memories of supporting Spurs are from the cups, FA Cup, Carling Cup, Worthington Cup. So all my top 5 memories are probably all from cup competitions. Even down to the simple things like '99 and the deflected Everson shot to get us through to the final against Wimbledon. All these are memories, and that's why I was disappointed that we didn't beat Leicester in the FA Cup, because I could write down my top 10 memories, and at least 8 of them is going to be in that tournament. So it was disappointing, to lose against Leicester. But again, I watched the Sheffield match in a pub, and there was about 25 Spurs fans, and 24 of them on the 70th minute were having a laugh, having another beer, relaxing, going out having a cigarette, and I'm thinking, this isn't right. This is going to change very, very quickly, because for me now, I'm not his biggest fan at the minute, but I thought when Dembele went off, it completely changed the structure and the shape of the side. And we just, in fairness, I know the kid scored 2, but the guy who had the 3rd chance, which he probably should have hit the target, but we could be sitting here in a complete meltdown if they had took a chance. But that, to me, it was the Dembele substitution, I think, changed the game. Yeah. Be interesting to see what you think, about that.
Well, Ken and I were watching it live, albeit on an internet feed, and I have to agree. We were great in the first half pressing. We should have definitely scored another goal to make it a little more difficult for Sheffield United. But the minute they scored the first one, and you could see us just getting pushed back and pushed back, you knew something else was going to happen. And you're right, Davie. It could well have been a 3rd goal that had gone in, and we wouldn't have recovered from that. Absolutely no way. So
no.
We knew that extra time was looming, and as we have done in multiple games so far this season, we've popped up with a late winner, and it's the white hot Dane again, and he saved our bacon. And you're right, we could have been absolutely going mental about the what ifs, and fortunately we don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it a little bit last week, right? I mean, that's just an extremely tough situation to be in. I mean, that's their season, right? I mean, they'd sort of taken 3 or 4 weeks off of their league so that they could, have everybody sort of in the frame for that. It was, maybe it's appropriate to say today, it was their Super Bowl. And so it's one of those things where I don't necessarily feel so bad that we didn't really have that great of a performance. You just want the result and move on, because now we play the Rent Boys, and I think it's a completely different style of game, and completely different kettle of wax. So it's one of those things where, like we said, should have beat them handily on paper, but situational is just a very, very tough situation.
Well, and they've got a great recent history of playing EPL teams. Before they played us in the first leg, and I misspoke. It was Eriksson who had the first goal on that beautiful free kick off the inside of the post. I was a bit misspoken there because I said Kane. They had played 8 EPL matches going into this home-and-home series with us. They had only lost once, and it was on penalties. So they've had a pretty good, for as middle of the table or upper middle of the table they are 2 divisions below us. They show up for the big game, and everybody except probably us and Sheffield Wednesday and maybe some Chelsea fans, they were rooting for this team. So there's a lot of karma and a lot of that. If you believe in that kind of thing, headed their way. And it's kind of apropos. I tweeted out after the match that Hazard and Costa and all those players were they were all rooting for Tottenham because they want revenge. And for Chelsea, this match is about revenge, but for us, it's about destiny. And I honestly believe that we are going to go in there, take this cup, and bring it back to N17. I really believe that.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. So how about that free kick, though? Woo!
Yeah. Cool. I think Sam's nailed it. It doesn't really. It's a semi-final of a cup. It doesn't really matter how you perform. It's getting over the final whistle. It's getting to the finish line, and I think now what has happened is years ago, and Rob's probably